All coming from inside the bank?
Yes, inside the bank. Pretty loud shots, like a pretty powerful gun.
You are there regularly.
You get a chance,
every
find out
day,
what these side streets are for our reports.
Yes.
At what point does that bank open in the morning? Is it open for business at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning?
I really don't do any business at that bank myself, so I couldn't tell you the times.
How long before officers showed up to respond to this thing?
Oh, a little late, to tell you the truth. Probably
Jack's
10
calling you
minutes
too, Alpha.
to 12 minutes after.
Go ahead, Des.
So we're talking right about straight up 10 o'clock this went down.
Tell him to go ahead.
Correct?
Pardon me?
We're talking about straight up 10 o'clock this went down this morning?
Yes.
All right, and police not arriving till 10 in the morning. The reason I asked you about that, of course, is that the number of people inside would be greatly increased if the bank was already in the process of doing business with the public.
Well, the parking lot was is full.
So that makes it even more dangerous.
Mark, you're still hot, as you know.
Much stand by. Any radio traffic on police frequencies up there, Mark, that you can pick up?
Well, we are monitoring. We haven't heard them on these frequencies we have, Larry, because they're on attack frequency now. But we saw just moments ago as the officers approached the front of the bank. We actually saw one officer enter the bank through the front entrance here, where they have over to the left here. You can see all the officers is where they have their guns trained, where they're definitely covering the entrance to that area. Now, the gentleman we had on the phone just a moment ago said that there were shots fired earlier today before the police arrived, which would indicate possibly that there are some injuries inside the bank, and it could be why the police are reacting so swiftly to this. Usually in a situation like this, the SWAT team will come in, and as you just explained moments ago, they'll set up some sort of a negotiating team, somebody to talk to the people inside, and we usually don't see any movement on these things for sometimes up to several hours, as we've all staked these out before. But we saw just moments ago police actually make entry into the front of the bank and then back right back out. Go ahead, Larry.
These people are trained for these kinds of situations, and they will frequently, if anything, err on the side of caution. But as you say, with shots having been fired before they arrived, we don't know who might be injured in that bank, and frequently banks such as this, or any bank, will have armed security. Now here's someone else coming out.
We have a woman coming out of the front of the bank.
A customer of that bank, walking along the
okay, we have the, okay, we, that's right, we have people that are now leaving the bank. It might be, maybe this is some sort of deal that was struck very quickly to let the hostages out of the bank. We're going to find out, of course, the police, what they'll do in this situation is they will pull these people to the side. They will gather all the information they can from them who are now leaving the bank. Therefore, that'll give them a much better idea of what's going on inside. But we're seeing, so far, we've seen 10, 15 people come out, and we continue to see that flow of people come out right now with their hands up. Of course, they do not want to be mistaken for one of the bank robbers. Of course, another thing the police have to do is they have to be careful that the bank robber does not try to hide himself within the crowd. If you see two people come out okay, we have someone laying down here, this is possibly a suspect. Larry, if you could slide the helicopter a little bit more to the left, we can get a little better shot of this.
That's Larry.
Slide a little bit of...
talking to our chopper pilot aboard Chopper 2. I've got 22 people and 2 babies in arms coming out of that bank.
Good.
We now have 3 people on the ground here in the entrance to the bank. Obviously a very, very tense situation, and it appears that there's someone on the floor inside the bank, crawling along, going right to left across your screen behind what may be a planter there. So there's still people inside the bank.
Okay, now we just saw the person in the back get up and walk away now, apparently mistaken for one of the suspects. Now we have 2 people that presumably are suspects here laying on the ground in front of the Bank of America. Police officers coming and approaching, having them stand up. Of course, now they're not being treated as such. So this was a precaution on the part of LAPD. Of course, they don't know who's who. We were just talking about that as we saw this happen.
What's really interesting about this picture is these 2 guys in front of the bank right now didn't appear to be in fear of being shot standing there in front of that entrance.
No, they did not.
The officers behind the cars are coming out.
But now that's changing again, Larry, as we watch. We've just seen this officer here now with the shotgun, a backup gun coming up to the front of the door. You just spoke about it earlier. You saw maybe a shadow or a figure moving around inside. We're still unclear if there are still some more people in there. Maybe one of the suspects is still inside. Of course, the police will be able to gather this information from the people that were released, that are on their way out. They are being questioned right now, certainly.
And it is entirely possible that whoever came into this bank armed this morning may have gotten away. We don't know that for a fact either. But it is clear that the police are being as cautious as they can possibly be in this situation, which is still potentially very dangerous.
We're watching a lady come out with a little child coming out of the bank, and
the third baby, 26.
Still more people released.
People. Clearly a bank full of customers and employees this morning.
As you know, Larry, most of the Banks of America in this area, they've all been equipped with bulletproof glass. As you know, the one across from the studio here in Hollywood, it has high bulletproof glass that surrounds all the teller stations and everything else. They're trying to, of course, Los Angeles being the bank robbery capital of the country, they're trying to do everything they can to prevent such things, but they still occur, as we're watching here today live on Channel 2.
And as we watch these officers here being as cautious as their professional training will dictate, we are told now by phone from LAPD Robbery Homicide that the suspects may indeed be gone.
Okay, we have the LAPD officers now, Larry. They're making entrance into the bank. We've just watched 4 officers go in the bank. You can see the door still open there in the middle of your screen. And now they are in the bank. What they'll do is, of course, they'll do a sweep of the area. If there's anybody else in there that can give them directions by pointing, by eyes, by gesture, of course, they're going to pay strict attention to those. Anybody still in the bank, I would assume, is going to be suspect of being a suspect. So they'll have to be very careful. But, of course, now they are inside the bank, and they are looking around in there. We can't see in there, of course, but we'll find out what's going to happen here very quickly.
Absolutely. Once again, LAPD Robbery Homicide indicating that they believe the suspects may be gone. We've just watched more than 30 adults and 4 children come out of that bank this morning, just in the last few minutes. For those who are just joining us once again, we are above Woodman and Sherman Way, a Bank of America branch that was invaded by as many as 3 or 4 armed gunmen this morning, just about.
Okay, Mark, take your time. We want to show the crowd around the bank. Just come out slowly, zoom out slowly, and we're going to see what's around the bank.
That there were shots fired, maybe as many as 5 or 6 shots fired inside the bank before police officers arrived about 10 minutes later. Lots of hostages is walking out, and of course they're only hostages if they're there while the suspects are inside the bank. There is some belief on the part of some in the police department that the suspects may have escaped. In any case, Los Angeles police officers have just moments ago, as you watched, entered the bank for the first time since this bank robbery drama began. And a meticulous search, I mean wall-to-wall, desk-to-desk search of the entire interior of that bank on the assumption that there may still be an armed gunman inside, one who presumably, we were told,
Real nice, Mark.
An automatic weapon.
Any more information?
Of some sort.
They're in the bank.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark, did I interrupt you?
No, I'm sorry. I was just passing some information on to Larry. The officers are now in the bank, as we know. We saw the crowd gathered off to the side, which we can take another look at. Of course, part of these people will be bystanders coming out of the stores that are in nearby areas, the housing developments that are in the other areas. But we're presuming that the people that were taken out of the bank have been removed to an area on their own. They'll be questioned, of course, by Los Angeles police detectives, investigating officers here at the bank robbery scene. There's still much police activity in the area. This scene is not over by any means yet, but of course you can tell by the attitude of the officers around the perimeter here that things are a little bit more, a little less stressful right now than they were just moments ago.
Stand by for a moment, Mark. We've got Bob Scott, KMX Radio, on the phone with us right now, who's on the ground right nearby there. Bob, where are you?
I am directly across the street from the bank. The bank is actually located on the corner of Wyandotte in Woodman. It's not on Sherman Way. It's a block up from there.
Okay. What are you hearing from police officers on the scene, or are they in a mood to talk at this point?
At this point, I haven't had a chance to get out of the unit. I just pulled up here as the first group that I saw of hostages come out of the bank, hands raised. Then a group of officers went in. There was a second group of people came out. One lady holding a young child, I would guesstimate a year or two, in her arms. Everybody coming out with their hands up because nobody knows who is at this point, and the officers are being, understandably, very cautious. After that second group of people came out that I witnessed, about a half a dozen officers went into the bank, shoulders, shotguns at shoulders, weapons drawn, and now there's a plainclothes officer walking up to the front door of the bank, too. They seem to be very calm. They're not in the normal defensive position that they would be if they suspected something was there. So I gather that they are searching the facility right now.
The videotape we're looking at right now, Bob, and to our viewers, is videotape we shot just a few minutes ago as the bank customers began to emerge from the bank. Bob, these people who have now come out of the bank are now on the side of the bank, I believe. Have they begun to be interviewed by police officers, or can you see
I've just
from
been
where
told
you are?
that
I can't see from where I am. They were
the
all moved
suspects
to
may have gotten away in a white Ford or Chevy.
Right here. Some of our colleagues over there apparently shooting pictures of them too, and I can see some uniforms over there as well. So that's a good guess, but I really can't swear to it.
All right, thanks very much, Bob.
If you can pan left to show that crowd, pan left.
I appreciate your being there. Here, by the way, is what we know right now. Police have responded to a bank robbery at the Bank of America branch.
And go right back to the door. Take your time, go to the door.
Of KNX radio, many hostages have a walkout.
And hold it there. Thank you.
They're under the eaves of the Bank of America branch right now, presumably about to be interviewed one by police officers. Still not entirely clear whether any suspects are inside, but early on in this episode, we were informed that as many as 3 gunmen, armed, some of them at least, with automatic weapons, were inside. We are told
You see
by
TV 11 anymore?
other witnesses on the scene
No, I don't, Larry.
as many as 5 or 6 shots were fired inside the bank. And so there is still the very real possibility that there may be wounded individuals inside that bank. Although, I don't know, Mark Dunn, Bob Scott, whoever's on board with me right now, have there been any ambulances or paramedic units on standby there?
Well, Larry, we have not seen any rescue ambulance show up at the scene yet. They would usually come if the situation dictated, of course. That could indicate that there are no injuries. Of course, it also could indicate that there could be a fatality. Other information that we are receiving now, some further information that you mentioned earlier about the possibility that these gunmen or that these bank robbers had left the scene. We're hearing some of that information ourselves, that they might have fled the scene in a white sedan, a Chevy perhaps, and are no longer here. That certainly would explain the relative relaxed situation that we're watching now compared to what we just saw a short while ago.
Yeah, I'm now being told as well, Bob, that LAPD detectives are convinced that the suspects are gone. Any doubts about that, and they would have sealed the building and not entered. Bob, what's going on down there where you can see?
Just let me add to what you asked before about paramedics units. I came up Sherman Way, going westbound on Sherman Way, and about 2 blocks away from it, a paramedic unit, LA City Fire Department paramedic unit, lights and sirens blazing, was heading.
And slowly just zoom out to show us a wide shot. Slowly zoom out.
Was the only unit that I have seen move out of here that was associated with an ambulance or a paramedic. Right now, it's very static, and I am surprised that if there was anything going on inside at this point, if they were really upset and worried about...
You know that. You've already gone with that?
Hold it there.
I'm very surprised that they would allow this many people that I'm looking at to be around this close proximity to the bank.
Bob, Marika.
East side of Woodland.
Go ahead to your left, pan to the left.
And there are people all in front of me here, to the north, the south, the east, the west. They're just not connected.
Go ahead.
To the immediate south of the bank, where the bank customers, I don't even know if we can call them hostages at this point, went. There are
we have a really big story,
Zoom into the crowd.
Sherman Way in Van Nuys bank robbery. There still may be some hostages in the bank or suspects. We're, of course, on top of it. What's your ETA back here?
You're absolutely right about that. Certainly, whatever police activity is going on inside the bank would be related to collecting evidence. We have Carlos Granda from our Action News team is on the ground right now with a unit. Carlos, what's going on where you are?
Well, Larry, we are here on the side of the bank, and you can see these are all the bank customers. The FBI that is here told us these are some of the bank customers, and over there you can see them talking to some of the bank employees. As a matter of fact, to the left, they're trying to get whatever information they can. Now, as we have been told this, the FBI did tell us that there were some shots fired, and right now, as you can see, very calm situation out here, which leads us to believe that possibly
Judy, were you calling me?
Inside. We're not 100% sure of that. As you can imagine, the police really aren't talking to us right now. They have their hands full just trying to get information from these bank customers and from some of the bank employees. And that's all we know right now. As you can see, there's a big crowd of people here. Wes, if you can turn around just to show a big crowd of people here and some of the police. Obviously, if they're allowing all these people right here so close to the bank, they must not feel that it is a very dangerous situation at this moment. But, of course, as we hear any more information, we'll bring it to you. Larry?
All right. Certainly, it would appear that that location where you are right now is a code 4. You know, the police in the valley in particular are on particularly heightened alert about all of these bank robberies that have been taking place. We just covered one not too far from your location right now last week, I believe, in the Woodland Hills area, where gunmen armed with automatic weapons invaded a savings and loan, I believe, and then escaped running across the freeway. They had to shut the freeway down for a number of hours while the search continued for these individuals, and there have been a series of bank takeover robberies involving a team of robbers who are armed as these individuals are rumored to have been armed. And so there is a real sensitivity, particularly in the San Fernando Valley, about this rash of bank robberies in an atmosphere where we're already, as you mentioned, I think Mark mentioned that Los Angeles, the bank robbery capital of the world. The latest statistics indicating even such that bank robberies are down. Carlos?
Yes, I'm here with Angela Sefton. You were here when it all happened.
Just put me behind the crowd.
Well, from what I was told from people around was that two guys ran in there with guns and they had masks, and one guy ran over into Thrifty and said, "Call the cops. There was a robbery in progress." And I had my son out of the car. When I heard that, we just got back in the car and sat there because we were getting ready to go in there and do our banking. And it's like, we don't need to die yet, so
just a few minutes later, you would have been in there.
Right.
What exactly did you see happening? I mean, when you looked at the bank, did you see anything happening there?
It got real quiet, and, I mean, all you saw was everybody just rushing back away from the doors and everybody going down. That's all that I saw. And then, like I said, I was too scared to even go closer. You know, I don't want to put my son in life, so that's all that I know.
Did you see any of the gunmen? Did you see anything?
I didn't see any of the gunmen. I didn't see them go in. I just heard what was described to me. You know, they said there was two guys. They had masks, they had machine guns, and they went in, and that's all that I was told. But I didn't personally see them.
You can even move out a little further if you want.
Before you were going to
shoot back underneath the
overhead.
There are people coming out of the bank.
No, it was a witness that was here that saw it, and he said, "Don't go in there." This, two guys just went in there with the gun. I'm all like, okay. So we didn't.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Number 2, you're hot. Very nervous still not sure what exactly is going on. As soon as we find out anything more, we'll tell you. Larry?
I'll tell you, it's one of those situations where they say you'd rather be lucky than smart. That young lady and her baby, lucky not to have been inside that bank, and certainly all the people you're looking at now were inside that bank. At least that's the way it appears to us at this moment. Lucky that to be alive, considering the fact now we've heard from a number of witnesses that shots were fired inside the bank, and that the suspects were armed with automatic weapons. We are right now, for those of you who are just joining us, above a Bank of America branch in Van Nuys, where at about 10 o'clock this morning, a number of armed gunmen walked into the bank, attempting to rob it. Inside the bank, many of the people that you see there on the side under the eaves of the bank, we count more than 30 people inside the bank, 4 small children among them, were held hostage, we believe, at least for a time. There is word now that as the LAPD arrived on the scene, the gunman fled. There was concern for a time that there may be one gunman at least remaining inside the building, that some of those people inside may have been in jeopardy, but now police detectives at Robbery Homicide are all but convinced that that location is clear now, and that no gunmen are left inside. There is word that they may have escaped in a white Chevrolet sedan. I'm reading now a new copy that is coming across our desk. More than 24 people, apparently customers, left with their hands raised about 10:30, and we watched that live right here on Channel 2. And right now, inside the bank are a number of Los Angeles police officers who went in the bank with their guns drawn, to search the bank, make sure that it was clear of any additional suspects, and to begin examination of that bank for possible evidence, anything that can be found in that bank, from fingerprints, to draft identification, to who knows what all, that might give them some lead to discover who these bank robbers are and where they might have gone. Again, this comes in the middle of what seems to be a season of bank robberies in Los Angeles, particularly in the San Fernando Valley, involving gunmen who come in with a great deal of force to rob banks. We are told now from an FBI spokesperson, Laura Bosley, that 3 gunmen in the Bank of America holdup wore ski masks.
Is that Valerio? Is that the side street?
They confirm that shots were fired, but this, according to the FBI now, no one was hurt. No one was hurt. Shots fired, no one hurt, and here's a lady who is being held, I guess, by LAPD officers, and then you can imagine the confusion that exists in the minds of someone who's been in that kind of a situation. And if you've ever been in that kind of situation, you can certainly sympathize with those people. On the phone with us right now, LAPD officer Helen Laurie. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Helen. Lloyd.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Well, right now we just have preliminary details. What we do have is we have 3 male black suspects who fled the location. There were shots fired. No one was injured. An uncertain amount of money was taken from the vault. And that's all we have at this time.
All right. Is there any indication, or can you even imagine or put together this kind of a conclusion that these might be the same people who were involved in the attempted robbery in Woodland Hills last week, or in any other series of robberies in the San Fernando Valley so far this year?